All right, now in this video, we're going to look at constructions. We've done a few so far this year. We've done, midpoint, angle bisector, perpendicular bisector, and constructing a congruent angle. Now we're going to take that a step further. Okay, so this first one, before we get going on anything else, I want to just briefly review on how to construct a perpendicular bisector to this segment. So what I want you to do on your own, I would pause the video while I go through and construct this just to make sure that you get the construction down perfectly. All right, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. So I'm going to just construct that. So remember, I just go past halfway, draw my arc, move it to the other side. Again, I just want to go past, leave it the exact same. I'm not changing it. I got my two arcs, they intersect. And then just again for time, I'm going to go ahead and just use that right there. Okay, so there would be our angle bisector, or a perpendicular bisector that forms a right angle there, and those two are congruent. Okay, so just a quick review. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to construct a perpendicular line through a point that's not on the line. So let's say we have an actual line here. It's not a segment like what we had before. So I want a perpendicular to that line. It doesn't have to go through the middle, and it doesn't need to go through any particular point. Except that point that's not on the line. Okay, so those are those directions. If you want to spend some time looking at those later, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to go on with our construction. So I'll grab my compass here. And let me go ahead and change colors so we can tell the construction marks a little bit easier. All right, so I'm going to take my compass, and I'm going to start with putting the middle point on a point that's not on my line. And I want to open up the compass to a point that if I draw an arc, it will intersect my line in two different places. So I can see that there. It's going to basically do that. So I'm going to draw my arc. Now what I'm looking for is this right here, right there where it intersects the line one more time. So that's what I need. So now I'm going to take my compass, put the middle point where that arc intersects the line, and I'm going to draw another arc out here. And I'm going to do the same thing from the other spot where it intersects. That's why we've got to make sure it intersects twice. And there we go. We got a little X marks the spot. So let me get out my ruler here. Over the top of the page and bring that down. And there is our perpendicular line through a point that's not on the line. So I just take my pen, and there you go. Okay, so that will be perpendicular to this line. Okay, now notice I could also do this with a segment. So if I made those just endpoints instead of arrows, I can still do it to the segment. It just doesn't have to go through the middle. So that's where this one's really useful, is if you just need a perpendicular line that doesn't go through the middle, or if we're talking about a line or we want a perpendicular to a ray and we can't get a middle point. This is a great construction for that. All right, last construction that we'll look at is constructing parallel lines. Now make sure you practice this one, because we're going to do a group activity to start class, and you've got to be able to do this. Okay, so again, here are the directions. I'll leave it on there for just a second, and then I'm going to go through those directions with us together. Okay, so that's good. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a line that's parallel to this line. I'm going to construct it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a point that is not on my line. And let me get out my tools here. So we got the ruler and the compass. So I'm picking a point that's not on the line. And let's bring this down. This too. Okay, so I've got my ruler, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in I'm going to draw a transversal. Okay, now for our purposes, let's draw one that's not going to give us a 90-degree angle. Okay, all right, so I've got my transversal drawn in there. Let me move my line. That's the nice thing about having it on the computer. I can move my line a little bit. There you go. Now it's right on that top. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my compass, and I'm going to, first let me change color so you can see the new markings. Let's go to blue. Okay, so I'm going to open up my compass, and I'm going to draw an arc so that it intersects my transversal, the red line, with what's going to be one of my two parallel lines. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Now remember, we talked about corresponding angles. Basically what this construction is we do this construction by copying corresponding angles. Okay, so now here's an important step. I want to make sure, and I got lucky, I want to measure that angle. Mine just happens to be the same. Most of the time it won't be. I just kind of got lucky here. So then I'm going to move it to my new arc, and I'm going to draw, there you go. Then I'm going to draw a line there, okay? And then I'm going to use my straight edge. And sometimes, and this takes a little bit of practice, mine is going to be pretty close to perfect. There's going to be maybe a degree or two off, which is okay. And so then now I'm going to take my straight edge and I'm going to draw a line through where the little X is and my dot. And there you go. We've got two parallel lines. Okay, so practice over this tonight. And that's the first thing we're going to do tomorrow is construct these parallel lines. And then we're going to do a group investigation using that. So you've got to make sure that you do that construction correctly. And then, like I said, we'll talk about this tomorrow, what we notice about our different angle pairs that we've talked about before.